grasped. A verse, in this text, says, "We affirm that mind appears twofold. In the same way, it appears as craving, etc. Or else it appears as faith, etc. And there are no separate defiled or good dharmas. If, on the other hand, they are distinctions of states of mind, how can the holy teachings speak of associates of mind, because is not something associated with another nature and nature of its own? Also, how can the Larakavatara Sutra say that, when mind and mental activities are simultaneously born, they are like the sun and the light? How can we grasp the teaching of the Yogacarabhimi Sastra, because it says that mental activities are not the same as mind? A verse, from the above scripture, says, the 5 seed natures aggregates, are not demonstrated.
The distinctions of states of mind are an error, because there is no distinction of causes and conditions. And it is a contradiction of the holy teachings. It should be said that mental activities have a separate self-nature apart from mind, but duetto the predominance of mind, it is said that there is consciousness only, etc. Because mental activities are born through the power of mind, it is said that they appear similar to that, but not that they are mind. Also, the terms consciousness and mind include mental activities, because they are always associated. None of the terms consciousness only, etc., or appears similar to mind is erroneous. This doctrine is based on relative truth. If we resort to ultimate truth, mind and mental activities are neither distinct nor identical. You should know that the same is true of the interrelationships of the 8 consciousnesses. This is said to be the marvelous principle of true and conventional truth in the Mahayana.
58. States of appearance of the 6 consciousnesses. We have discussed the association of mental activities with the 6 consciousnesses, i.e., the first 5 consciousnesses and mental consciousness. How should we understand their states of appearance? Vasubandhu's verses say, supported on Thai fundamental consciousness. The 5 consciousnesses appear in accordance with conditions, either together or not. Like waves supported by the water. Mental consciousness perpetually appears, except in those born among the unconscious celestials, and in the 2 mindless samadhis, and in those who are in states of sloth and stupefaction.
The treatise says that fundamental consciousness is Gatnavijnana, because all impure and pure consciousnesses are born from this root. Supported means that the first 6 evolving consciousnesses have fundamental consciousness as their common, proximate support. 5 consciousnesses means that the first 5 evolving consciousnesses are spoken of in general, because they are similar as species. The words appear in accordance with conditions show that they do not always appear. Conditions are such conditions as attention, organs, objective realm, etc. That is, the 5 consciousnesses themselves can be present when supported internally by the fundamental consciousness and by conforming to a combination of various conditions such as attention, the 5 organs, objects of perception, etc. Consequently, they appear either together or not, because, when external conditions combine, they exist suddenly, together, or gradually. Like water and waves, they are many or few, depending on conditions. The analogy of these dharmas, as water and waves, is extensively discussed in the Sandhinirmikana Sutra.
59. Mental consciousness. As a result of the grossness and instability of the modes of activity of the first 5 evolving consciousnesses, sometimes many of the conditions on which they depend are incomplete, and therefore sometimes they appear infrequently and many times they do not appear. Even though the 6th, mental consciousness, is also gross and unstable, there is no time when the conditions upon which it depends are not complete, and, only, as a result of contrary conditions is there a time when it does not appear. The modes of activity of the 7th and 8th consciousnesses are subtle, and the various conditions on which they depend are at all times present, therefore, there is no condition to block them and cause general inactivity. Also, the 5 consciousnesses themselves are unable to reflect, only evolving vis-a-vis the external realm. Their appearance depends on many conditions, and therefore there are many times when they are interrupted and few times when they are actually active. The 6th consciousness itself is capable of reflection, evolving vis-a-vis the inner and outer realms. It does not depend on many conditions and is always able to appear, except in 5 states. Therefore, there are few times when it is interrupted and many times when it appears. Consequently, Vasubandhu's verses do not say that it appears in accordance with conditions. What are the 5 states when it is inoperative? Birth among the unconscious, celestials, etc.
60. The unconscious celestials. The unconscious celestials, asamtrikadeva, means that they are born in that celestial realm by the power of cultivating samadhi and a distaste for gross conceptualization, which interferes with the non-perpetually active mind and mental activities. Extinction of conceptualization is foremost of characteristics of this existence, and they are, therefore, called unconscious celestials. Therefore the 6 evolving consciousnesses there are all interrupted. There is an interpretation that those celestials are always devoid of the 6 consciousnesses, because the holy teachings say that they are devoid of evolving consciousnesses, because it is said that they only possess the material factor, ripanga, and because it is said that that realm is a mindless stage, asatakabaimi. There is an interpretation that when these celestials are in a state when they are about to die / in the mindless realm, they must generate evolving consciousnesses so that immediately upon death they necessarily generate a thirst that nourishes a birth below, because the Yogacarabhimi Sastra says, when a subsequent conceptualization has been born, these sentient beings fall from that existence or samadhi. However, as for saying that they are devoid of evolving consciousnesses, etc., this means for a long time, not that they are totally absent.
There is an interpretation that when they are born, in that realm, they also have evolving consciousnesses, because in that unconscious celestial realm, they must generate passions that nourish birth, because, as in other realms, they must have evolving consciousnesses at the beginning of their basic existences. The Yogacarabhimi Sastra says, if he is born in that realm, he just enters it but does not generate conceptualization, because if conceptualization occurs, he falls from that realm. If he does not have evolving consciousnesses during the time of his basic existence, how can it be called entering that state devoid of conceptualization, because it can be called entering if first he has the consciousnesses, and later does not have them. According to the Vinascaya Samgrahani, the cessation of all mind and mental activities existing from birth is called unconsciousness asamjnika. The meaning of these words indicates that at the beginning of that basic existence, evolving consciousnesses born of retribution initially exist a short time, and that they are not born later due to the power of former causes and conditions. Consequently, this absence attracts and generates a state known as retribution and indeterminate, which is called without conceptualization, just as the 2 samadhis are called good, by virtue of the good they attract and generate. On the contrary, if none of the evolving consciousnesses is active, how can they be said to be only cessation of mind and mental activities acquired at birth? Therefore, in the first state of that existence, the evolving consciousnesses occur for a while. These celestials only abide in the 4th trance state, dhyana, because conceptualization below that stage is gross and unstable and difficult to eliminate, and there is no occasion for the retribution of non-conceptualization above it, that is, because the volition that can attract and instigate this unconscious samadhi is able to provoke the results of retribution of these celestials.
61. The 2 mindless samadhis. And in the 2 mindless samadhis means that both of the samadhis of unconsciousness and cessation are called mindless, asataka, because they all are devoid of the 6 consciousnesses. Unconscious samadhi means that there are ordinary beings, prithagjana, who have subdued craving of the subhakritsna realm, but who have not subdued impurity of the superior trance states. Due to the concept of escape from samsara being the foremost of their volitions, this samadhi causes the cessation of non-perpetually active mind and mental activities. It is called unconscious because cessation of conceptualization is foremost, and it is called samadhi because it causes the body to be tranquil and harmonious.
There are 3 degrees of cultivation of this samadhi. He who cultivates the lowest degree necessarily regresses, in maintaining samadhi, in this present life, durstadharma, and cannot quickly recover the samadhi. Later, when he is born among those celestials, samadhi, is not extremely bright and pure, nor is the form large, and he definitely dies in the interval. He who cultivates the middle degree does not necessarily regress, and if he regresses he quickly recovers it. Later, when he is born among those celestials, even though the samadhi is extremely bright and pure and its form is large, still it is not maximal, and although one, sometimes, dicks in the interval, it is not certain.